Just imagine for a second that you are a doctor and your specialty is to treat cancer patients. And you see that one of your patients gets miraculously better. Would you be interested in what that person did to achieve those results? My bet is that most of you would be extremely curious as to what was going on and how you could use this knowledge to treat future patients. But upon reading the stories about how people beat their cancers with cheap dog dewormers, one very interesting observation is how their doctors react to them getting much healthier than all of their other patients. And I will tell you, it's extremely absurd and doesn't at a first glance make any sense. Here are some examples. My latest prostate biopsy came back negative, diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2017. My urologist was puzzled. I asked him if he wanted to know what I did. He said no. What the hell? I only dosed with fenbendazole for 3 months. I never told any doctors that I was on the Joe Tippens protocol until I had been all clear for 16 months. Why? It's no one's business what I put in my mouth. The reaction when I tell them was a yawning moment for them. Zero enthusiasm from any of the doctors. A few folks have been fired by their oncologist when they told them that they were on the protocol. My story is similar. When the cancer had affected the colon and rectum and he wanted to radiate my prostate, knowing that it would cause a fistula and I'd end up with a colostomy bag, I refused. He said, it's not a matter of if you get a colostomy bag, it's a matter of when. Then when he asked me why I wanted a scan so quickly after my last one, I said, the tumor might be gone. He laughed at me and said, your tumor is not going to be gone. It's been close to 10 months now, no evidence of disease. Guess the tumor is gone, buddy, and I don't have a sandwich bag hanging full of stuff. My wife works at the same hospital he treats. He avoids eye contact with her in embarrassment and finally admitted to another nurse that, guess that stuff really works. I don't go to him anymore, my urologist handles all my scans and blood tests. If I was a medical doctor instead of a doctor of physics, I would have reacted the opposite way. I would say, please tell me more, you might be sitting on the actual cure for cancer. Imagine how many of my other patients I could cure if this actually works. But reading the stories on the Facebook pages, this rarely happens. But why is this the case? Well, I have a theory. And to explain it, we need to talk about football, or soccer for my American audience. Football is a sport that moves slowly, has a bunch of rules, and physical contact between the players is forbidden. Like any other sport, you have two teams trying to get the ball into the other team's goal. And you have people in the audience supporting either team, chanting slogans and wanting them to win. But it's not only that they support their team, they also typically hate the other team with a passion. And some even go so far as to physically fight the other team's supporters. The interesting part here is that there's nothing objectively wrong with either team, but for no reason other than it's the other team. They hate them with a passion. The controversial theory that I will propose is that the medical doctors are operating under the same tribal mindset as football hooligans, which is that the doctor's tribe, the big pharma-sponsored medicine, is the best thing in the world, and everything in the alternative health space is just a coincidence if it happens to work, even if there are legit clinical trials showing that it has an effect. Just like how a football hooligan was born and raised in the town where their team is from, the doctors had to go through 7 years of medical school with teachers and classmates supporting the team of evidence-based big pharma medicine. And this is why they get such an aversion when you say that you tried an alternative treatment and it works. It's like going up to a Liverpool fan with a Manchester United shirt. It's like telling a vegan you tasted meat and it didn't give you cancer. It's like telling a carnivore that you had some kale and you didn't get kidney stones. They will flip their shit, not out of logic, but out of their team mentality. Doctors are better at hiding it than a Liverpool fan, but they will look at you with the same disgust. But now I hear you say, doctors follow evidence-based medicine, which means that they prescribe remedies that have been proven to work. So they should have the objective high ground and their team should be the best team, right? But in reality, Science is hard, expensive, and slow, which makes it very limited in proving that a treatment works or not. It's like trying to lay a puzzle where you don't know how big it's supposed to be, and all the pieces are hidden in a haystack. There is no way for a doctor to see the full picture, because it doesn't know how big the puzzle is. No one knows. This is, however, not understood by the medical doctors, and they believe someone else has already laid the puzzle for them and told them what the end result looks like. There is also an element of corruption involved with the scientific process, where only the remedies approved by Big Pharma gets to the market.
So when I made some breakthroughs in chemotherapy in 2008, I was so excited. I was like, ran down the hall to my buddies in the onc world, and it's like, look at what just happened. Like, this is freaking crazy. It's a vitamin A compound, and look what freaking has happened to these cancer cells. And they're like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. I was like, what do you mean it's interesting? Like, you've got cancer patients all day long. Can you imagine what this is capable of? Went back to my mentors, like, all right, so breakthrough, now what? And she's like, the best case scenario will be 25 years before those guys down the hall are able to practice what you discovered.
Wow.
25 years. It turned out it would never come to be, because as I moved into clinical trials, one of the pharmaceutical companies had patented vitamin A compounds broadly, like, as a chemotherapeutic agent. So I called them up naively, very excited, got this thing working, it's doing this and that. And it was literally 3 questions. Like, what type of cancers do you think it treats? How long do you think you would have to treat for? Do you think it actually is getting at the, at the apoptosis or suicide of the cell itself? I said, not only do I think, I can show you the data, and blah, blah, blah. And click. It was literally hung up on me. And I just thought, line went dead, or I lost my line, called back, no answer. Finally, after a few days of no contact, I go to my mentor and explain the situation. She's like, you should have never called. Like, she's like, that is not a patent that is there for monetary gain. That is something called a blocking patent, making sure that this thing doesn't come to light. And I was like, I couldn't even fathom the words blocking patent put together.
Right.
I thought the whole concept of intellectual property at that point was to advance, knowledge. So the idea that academia as a whole is, broadly putting blocking patents in place. And it's been an interesting journey for me since that chemotherapy thing of realizing, okay, this is not how academia works. This is not how information travels. I'm going to have to leave academia if I'm going to actually ask interesting questions for myself and practice medicine interestingly for myself and my patients.
And Big Pharma lobbies doctors to prescribe medicines that they know themselves doesn't work.
The problem was that Aranesp didn't work. But the FDA still approved it. And Amgen began direct-to-consumer marketing of this drug that had very dangerous side effects for cancer fatigue. So later on that night, I went down to the hotel bar, and I'd seen the Amgen reps, sales reps, and these are very slippery people. They're mechanisms, okay? I mean, they're just simply mechanisms working for the company. I was there and talking, and I dropped in as an aside, said, wow, you guys hit another home run with Aranesp, blockbuster. He said, yeah. He said, the docs love it. They can't get enough of this shit. I said, why? And he said, well, it's $2,600 an injection, in-office injection. Bang, $2,600. Bang, $2,600. He said, they're making a fortune. We just can't get enough of this stuff to them. So I waited a little bit. And then sort of jokingly, I said, yeah, but it doesn't work. And I'll never forget, he paused for effect. And he said, if you're putting your kids through Stanford and looking at a waterfront property in Malibu, it works. And my spine just cringed. That was my tipping point when I realized that the incestuous relationship between pharma and the oncology community, the healers, had been so corrupted by their money that everything had fallen off the cliff.
Unfortunately, the average doctor is not aware that these corrupt practices is the foundation of what we've been taught as absolute truths, and thus proving or disproving that a certain course of action is the right thing for a patient becomes impossible, since the evidence-based medicine has been tampered with. Due to these limitations, believing in the science is much like believing in a religion, where you can't definitely prove your beliefs. You just choose a certain path to walk out of faith. So when a mainstream medical doctor tells you that there is nothing they can do to cure you, you should interpret it as there is nothing that can cure you that also give big pharma profit. The doctors are just too blinded by the tribal mentality in order to see that there are alternatives out there.